Good morning. I am so glad that we're able to come together, even though we can't come together physically, that we can come together virtually and have a Bible study today, as we are going to think about what's been going on lately and how we may feel isolated and how that has affected us. Please just take the time and try to encourage one another. I hope that you can encourage one another through a letter, through a picture, through FaceTime, or even having, even texting someone with your parents' permission. As we are going throughout this time, as we think about how we might feel alone, let's look into our Bibles in Genesis chapter 6. And as we're looking at Genesis chapter 6, let's start in verse 5. The Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and every intention of the thought of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him into his heart, which means he was very sad. So the Lord said, I will blot out man, whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So we know from the Bible that Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives boarded this ark, which God told Noah to make. This ark that God told Noah to make was made out of gopher wood. It was 300 cubits. It was 300 cubits, which is 450 feet, which is a little over a football field. The height of it was 30 cubits, which is about 45 feet. And as we're looking at that, think of how huge that job was for Noah. He had to make that to very specifications that God told him to make it. And as we're looking at that, God kept his promise throughout that whole entire time that Noah was told to do this, and he may have been ridiculed, he may have been made fun of, and so because before that it had not rained. So we know that the Bible states that it had rained 40 days and 40 nights. And even after that, there had been, from the time that it had finished flooding and flooded the whole entire earth, and to where the ark was well elevated, so it was definitely higher than it was before. And so with all the water underneath it, and God cleared the earth, he had Noah make sure to have certain provisions inside the ark for them. And at that point, it said the flood continued for 40 days, and on verse 17, the waters increased and bore the ark and rose high on the earth, and the waters prevailed and increased greatly. So it stayed that way for 150 days. And then Noah sent out the first bird. And the first bird that he sent out was a raven. And then he also sent out a dove. And he sent him out several different days, and sent the dove out several different days. And finally, the dove at first did not bring back anything, but later brought back an olive branch, a newly made olive branch. And then it said that the dove didn't return. And so that meant that Noah knew that it was time for them, that they would have complete dry land, and they would be able to, they were ready to leave the ark. God continued with that promise. So he kept his promise throughout that whole entire time. And think of how scary that would have been for Noah. Okay, so in excuse me, in chapter 9, God makes a covenant with Noah at the end of all of this. And God said to Noah and his sons, Behold, I establish a covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, and the birds and the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark. It is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is a sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set a bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign to you for all generations, that I've set when I bring the clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds. I'll remember my covenant with you, between me and you, and every living creature of the flesh, and all flesh. The water shall never again become a flood to destroy the earth. With the bow and the clouds, I will see it, and I will remember it, the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is a sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. And we find out that a covenant is a sacred promise or agreement with God to do what he asks or commands us to do. And so as we look at these, as we look at this time, we're going to see that we still have rainbows in the sky today. And so as we look around, as we might go outside or anything after it rains, look at that rainbow and look at all of God's creation. And remember God's promises that he will never fail us. He will never leave us. That he loves us and that you are loved. As we end this time together, let's go ahead and sing the first verse of Blue Skies and Rainbows. And that's another way that we can remember God's love, is to sing together. Blue skies and rainbows and sunbeams from heaven, all what I can see. When my Lord is living in me, I know that Jesus is well and alive. Today he makes his home in my heart. Nevermore will I be all alone, since he promised me that we never would part. Remember that as we come together, looking at God's creation, and as we encourage one another, let's just remember that God never fails us ever. I hope you enjoyed this lesson today, and I hope that you enjoy your time worshiping with your family, and I hope to see you again soon. Love you guys.